So today is about really your presentation skills. And one of the things that I have found in real estate over 15 years is that there's a little bit of an intimidation to presenting. There was a statistic I found that said over 91% of people get intimidated by speaking in an audience and like in a formal way. And our biggest focus is with sellers. And I don't know if it's you or me, but every time the difference between a seller and a buyer for me is a seller, I felt like I'm on an interview versus a buyer. We're just kind of getting to know each other. We're building this kind of rapport. So this is through the lens that we want to focus on listings, right? We're in a insanely competitive market right now. So the lens that I'm going to be kind of training you guys today is putting our best foot forward, strategies that when we're in a conversation with a seller. Of course, this applies to buyers as well. So we'll kind of get started as we go forward, maybe. If I can get this to do its thing here. So the first thing is that we got, in my opinion, in every presentation that I've done over the years, it just takes preparation, which I know all of you guys do an amazing job of doing that, but we're going to dive a little deeper into that today. We're also going to really kind of examine knowing what the audience is. We, of course, know every seller has a different situation. Of course, every buyer that we interact with has a different situation, but kind of knowing what the audience is. And then how do we connect with them more on a personal level? And then, of course, being intentional. So this first one, has anybody ever seen this golden circle before? Unmute yourself. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Golden circle? Where does it come from? Anybody know?
Is it your sphere of influence? Oh, I see who it's from. Is it sphere of influence?
So it's not. One thing is it looks like the one that KW always did with the sphere of influence, but the golden circle is described in Simon Sinek, a book that he's written, and it talks about that most salespeople always talk about how they sell or what they sell instead of why they sell it. And so if you look at very iconic brands, they don't tell you what they sell or how they sell it. They kind of create this image forward. Nike is notorious for it because there'll be, runners running down the street and then eventually it'll pan to the shoe eventually. Or Apple is notorious for it as well, where you see people hanging out at the local coffee shop and they're laughing and different things like that. And then they pan to the phone, right? So it's the why. Why would I buy this iPhone or why am I buying Nike shoes? So when you're doing any type of presentation, I'd like for you to remember, so to speak, they already know what you do and they already know how you do it. They already know you're going to list their property. They're going to come up with a price and how are you going to market it, right? You're going to get professional photography and staging. That's somewhat at this point in the juncture of our industry is pretty much common knowledge. You can Google that information. But why are they going to hire you versus hire somebody else is what I really want to dig into. And we need to make sure that we know how to articulate that very quickly. Because if you just say, oh, I can sell your house in 4 days, well, everybody can sell a house in 4 days, right? So it starts with the why, then the what, and then the how. So I'm gonna show you how to build a 60-second kind of commercial, so to speak. How many people on the call are in like a BNI, a Synapse, or have ever attended any type of organized networking groups like that? 212. Shout out to me like what kind of organizations you've been to or what you've been a part of.
I used to do Toastmasters. I don't do any of that stuff anymore.
Toastmasters is like notorious for that elevator speech, right?
Right, which I don't have for real estate, by the way.
Interesting.
I don't have that. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else other than Toastmasters? What else? What organizations do they have?
Synapse and 212.
You do both of those?
I do.
Deanna has 212 and Synapse as well, right? So do you guys, in all those organizations, when we were in real life, well, not real life, in person, you kind of went around the table. In Zoom world, we go, Brady Bunch square by Brady Bunch square, right? Do you guys have to give your presentation like a quick 30-second or 60-second kind of down and dirty presentation about yourself? You remember doing that?
Yeah.
Yes. What if you're at the grocery store and you bump into somebody and they say to you, how's real estate? Do you have a canned 30-second response, or do you say, oh, it's busy? Don't have to answer that hypothetically, right? But what I want to build out for you guys is to think about there's always tons of opportunities for presentations, formal and informal. When we're in the coffee shop, when we're in the grocery store, when we're talking, you know, we go out to dinner with another couple or another, you know, friend or family, they always bring how is real estate going? And I challenge you guys to focus on the why and then focus on the what and the how. Right? So I'm going to give you some real life example on the screen. And then is it written down? Like, do you have it to the point where you kind of feel like it's a rhythm and you can, and then also does it sound forced or natural? A lot of the resistance that I've always had is I hate sounding like a robot or a commercial. I want it to sound normal, but there needs to be some structure to it because I think we're missing opportunities when we're networking, when we're dropping off pop buys. That's still kind of a mini presentation. It's a perception of what's going on. So knowing what to say versus what not to say. So bear with me and look at these steps. I want you to think about it. I want this to be simple. I want it to be, I don't want you to use always industry terms like CMA, pre-qual, DOM, right? We have all these little crazy acronyms that we tend to use in our industry. Make sure you realize that they may not know what these words mean. And those of you who are on the KW world, you guys even have more acronyms that I think you guys use internally, right? Develop a layered rhythm to your speech. So I'm actually going to go through it real quick so you can see there's a layered system that's easy to use, but it kind of layers together. And then make it unique, right? So think about the fact that if you all say the same thing, none of you are memorable, right? And then also keep it engaged. So let me give you an example. This is example of kind of my elevator speech, so to speak. So I want to kind of break it down real quick. And this is how it's structured, right? So why? So hi, I'm Drew Demery. I'm with Realtor XYZ Brokerage. I love working with buyers and sellers because I know personally the power of building wealth through real estate sales, right? That's why I do what I do, right? What? During the transaction, I focus on your goals from how to make the most profit when selling your current home to helping you make the best offer on your next home. That's what I do. And how do I do it, right? Something unique about my approach is I connect with sellers that are not connected with the realtor, and I call these off-market properties. The process allows my buyers to stay ahead of the competitive market that we're currently in, and sellers love the convenience of the safe process this allows during COVID. And then we have what we call a tie down, which is that kind of is that confirmation that we need them to move forward. So I trust that you're looking to hire a realtor like me who is looking out for your best interests. Are you feeling comfortable placing your trust in me? And then the answer, of course, you pause, let them talk, and then, okay, great, let's get started, okay? Right, so there's a lot in there, and I wanna make sure, again, the reason why it's written is that you're not gonna say it the same way. And obviously I'm reading it to you, so it sounds kind of constricted, right? The more that you say it, and the more that you flow through, then it just works your way through that conversation. What is your guys' first kind of gut instinct about something like this before we move to the next thing? Do you have your who, what, why, how? Do you have this kind of any format, honestly? Do you guys kind of shoot from the gut? Like, so when somebody says something, right? So that's good. Like, that's a start. So what I would tell you is that your spitball, like your gut instinct, like whenever you say something, write that down, right? Start with what you know. We don't want it to be unnatural, and we want it to be simple, right? So start with this. So when I'm constructing this, I threw out what I traditionally say, and then I'm working to build different things. I want you to see it a different way. I'm going to show you the same information again. So this is the same one. Let me put your faces back this way. But we always know that logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. We've been coached and taught this probably from the beginning of a sales background, right? We know that anybody buys a product or a service based on emotion. But there's key words that I've added that have logic and emotion connected together, right? So I use the word love. If you know me, I love that word, hence me saying it, right? It shows that emotion, right? And then build wealth is a logical word. Most people would want to build wealth. Most profit, best offer, unique, right? These are words that I'm putting in here to make sure that we're connected. And then a tie down is, of course, that kind of final connection there. So if you're looking at your situation with your kind of organic presentation, start with that. Write down what you say, and then start to kind of highlight. What are logical words that I use all the time? What are emotion words that I use all the time? I will tell you, when you do this kind of experiment, you're going to lean towards one or the other. You're going to be super emotional based, or you're going to be super logical based. And we needed to blend it together. When you're doing presentations, you have so many different personality profiles. You can't just be love and sunshine and rainbows, which is emotion based, but you also can't be all logic and data driven. That makes sense? So we all lean towards one or the other. Doesn't no harm, no foul either way, but just be, recognizing what it is. So my first challenge to you guys is write down a little snippet of, if I were to ask you, how's the real estate market? What would you say to me? Or another example, why would I list my house with you? If we're going after sellers, it needs to be quick, it needs to be precise, it needs to be simple, it has to have that unique value to it, and it has to have logic and emotion connected and dovetailed together. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's a tie down, right? So anytime you can use any of those in combination, and the cool thing, it's fun, but it's a skill. This takes time to organically create. And there's a saying that says spontaneity is a conditioned reflex, right? But it looks like you're spontaneously saying all this great, amazing things at the grocery store, and it sounds amazing when you're at the dinner table and somebody asks you about real estate, but you kind of have a rhythm to it. There's a layered conversation. So the first thing when you're presenting, I want you to do is think through that process, okay? Let's go through the last few things, and then we'll let Samantha kind of chime in. I've probably preached to you guys about this, but I wanted to give this to you in a visual context, right? The words are important, but how you say it or what you say is only 7% of that, right? 7% is spoken, 38, and then 55% of the rest of 55% of what you do is body language. So there has been a year basically where we have done less face-to-face and more virtual appointment. Do you guys agree? So how do we, when we know communication is body language, how do we make sure the virtual appointments that we go on are just as impactful as the ones if I'm sitting having a cup of coffee with you or sitting at the kitchen table doing a listing presentation with you? Any ideas? Any things you've done to kind of spice it up a little bit?
Smile.
I was going to say I'm probably more aware of my facial because I'm seeing myself.
Yeah,
so I'm aware of my expressions and my movements, whereas I think in person, I'm much more subdued.
Correct. I love that. That's 100%. So now we have a mirror, right? We always talk about this concept of mirror and match, right? But the cool thing is now we can see ourselves as we're interacting with the consumer. And leaning in and interacting, I'm very animated, but on Zoom, I'm more animated. I don't know if you obviously can notice that. It's more animation, right? So when you're sitting in a Zoom situation and having your hands down here, I feel like I don't even want to be here, right? So make sure that, again, we know 55% of its body language. So you could literally be on mute, not saying a daggone thing, and it's about that. So really want to make sure you guys recognize it. And when you're doing a presentation in person, do not sit in the back of the chair. Sit on the edge of the chair, right? You want to seem like you're really engaged in the conversation. Put your body forward, right? Be intentional about trying to be able to be in a position where you look like you're really trying to interact with them. I always say you should never sit in someone's couch. Never. Like recliners, chairs, nothing like that. And they want you, you know, they're naturally wanting you to be comfortable in their house. Listing presentation, they were like, hey, let's go talk in the living room. Take a lead there and make sure you're in a chair. And I know this seems so foundational, but when you're stuck in a damn lazy and you're like this, and you're trying to give a presentation, it just throws the whole thing off. Again, body language, right?
I will never forget being offered to go in and sit in the living room on the couch, and we started out in different seats, and then to do the presentation, they put me on the couch and they sat on either side of me. Oh my God, weird. So awkward.
It's weird.
Awful. I was like, I will never allow that to happen again, ever.
So body language is ironically connected to how you're sitting. That's why I bring that up, because it's really weird. I remember sitting at someone's dining room table and I felt like I was the king and the queen, and I sat at the end and they were like far down. I'm like, why the hell are we so far away from each other? Right? So really start to orchestrate a situation where your body language, let's talk about the next one, which is voice and tone, right? So we talk about tone matching. Have you ever received a text message that is in all caps lettering? What is that supposed to mean in like texting world?
Yelling.
Yelling, right? So one of the things with tone and voice is that we sometimes can't hear ourselves because we're too busy talking, right? Hence I'm doing right now. So it's important that if there's ability to have game film for you to watch it back. So the beauty of a virtual appointment is there's a record button. And even if you do nothing with it, you can listen to yourself. And you may love it or hate it, but it's the best footage that you can watch and see your interactions, right? So a lot of times, I will be honest, I record myself when I'm interacting with you. I have my cell phone. I turn on the voice memo and it's down here. And I'm honestly not listening to what you're saying recorded back. I'm listening to what I say to you, right? Because my voice and tonality can impact, especially if I'm coaching you, whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day after the phone call, right? And I've looked at coaching sessions and I go, ooh, I didn't say that great. And my tone wasn't great. And my facial expressions weren't great. Right? So the only way that I personally see through 15 years in 25 years in sales is voice and tone represents only 38%, but I think that's the first thing that pisses people off, turns them off, right? And I think it's interesting that it's only 38% because I get in more arguments with my significant other because of voice and tone than anything else, right? And my daughter's 15 years old. We have a little banter about tone because it's perception is reality. Like how you are presenting your voice and your tone is the reality that they're experiencing, right? Does anybody had an experience where whether it's personal or professional, where the tone or your voice backfired either on you because you did it or because you were interpreting that through someone else? Give me a real life example. Like how did you kind of go through that experience?
I had an interesting seller last year, and I found that I had to be much more unanimated than I usually am when I was with him. And most of my interaction was face-to-face. And one time I was trying to be so, we'll just say flat for me. He said, "You're being condescending," because he was used to being, and I was like, just trying to bring it down, and you were talking down to me. And so I quickly changed my tone and just kind of apologized, but it was because it wasn't normal for me to speak like that. That's probably why it came off that way.
Right. And I think that's a good, when we are, especially as salespeople in real estate, we are usually educating them on the process. And if we're not careful, our tone is going to sound like that we're condescending to them because they probably have purchased a house before, right? Or even if they're a first-time home buyer, we're explaining the process, they may think based on our tone that we're talking at a different level. Voice and tone somehow is connected to what we think is intelligence or a comprehension. And when you're in a presentation, you want to see the engagement and make sure that they're absorbing in the information. And when tone and voice is not connected to that, you could be the best presenter saying the correct words and have the best physical presentation on the screen. And they're like, I always say it's like Charlie and the teacher, Charlie, wah wah, like Charlie Brown, like they're not listening, right? Because you've turned them off in that space. So I would challenge you guys to have some game film, whether it's recording your conversations on the phone. I also am a big fan of like the old school tape recorders. You can buy them on Amazon for $20. Like listen to your conversations you're having on the phone with people. Is your tone, is it good? Is it bad? Is it high? Is it low? Are you slowing down your speech? If you're truly wanting to be skilled at your presentation skills, that's prospecting, that's everything, you really got to watch that game film, because every professional NFL athlete watches the game film. Even the Super Bowl, they watch the game film. They see what they did well, and they say what they can do to improve. And if you're truly going to work on your presentation skills, you're going to need to do that. Because in our brain, two things are going to happen. We're going to think, wow, I did a kick-ass job. That was the best presentation ever. Or there's the mindset of, I sucked. It was awful. I don't know if I'm going to get this deal. I don't know if they're going to work with me, right? Well, the problem is neither one of those are actually probably true. It's probably a hybrid mixed version of that. So the game film allows it to be evidence rather than fear-based. That makes sense. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling so we can get you guys into the finale and finish up so you guys can go play in the sun. So we've seen this before, DISC, D-I-S-C, right? Personality profiles. What I really want us to work on is this last part, is that we've got to start slow with them, regardless of their personality, right? Start low, slow, mirror and match, because it also is based on their mood that day, right? I'll tell you, I'm a high D, which is a fast-paced person. I'm also a high I. Certain days, I'm a little bit more I, because I'm feeling a little frisky. I'm a little fun, right? Some days I'm like, get to the point, right? So don't just assume. We've got to realize in personality profiles, we have usually two dominant traits, but we may switch back and forth. So you may think, oh, Drew's a high D. Let's come in pretty fast. Well, today I'm feeling pretty social, right? So make sure you start slow to start to find a rhythm to their personality. What I'd also like to see if you could challenge yourself to is, can you identify their profile within 3 to 5 seconds? It's fun, right? So body language, how do you figure out how their personality is without them even speaking, right? Start learning, looking at things like that, how they sit in the chair, how they're interacting, what they're doing with their hands. There's so much psychology behind the profiles of a person and how they interact and how their body language is, right? So what is your interaction with learning how the personality profiles work? Do you find it easy? Do you find it hard? What gets you stuck? Like what?
This doesn't resonate with me, even though it's in Keller Williams' world. It's always been a big thing, and I don't even think about it with myself in that sense. And I know it's always been something we're supposed to write down and identify. I always feel like I need to watch a video like about this. Like this doesn't, so that it'll stick in my head to see a visual of the different personalities. Because I think
does anybody on here think they could kind of explain it to Dawn in a way that, I mean, you know, Dawn, what it is, but does anybody else
size it up?
So anybody think they can size up what these are? How do you size them up in like 3 to 5 seconds? How do you think that is?
I think D is high level. They don't want to get down in the details. And I know I just have to take those on for my clients and then just give surface level to them. That's how I think of D.
Yeah, a D.
And I feel really uncomfortable with that in real estate. Like when I come across a person that you're trying to explain, because I'm all about like educating people and telling them all that they need to know. And when someone's like, you know what, just send me that and we'll just sign it and we'll just, like that makes me uncomfortable. I stumped,
and
but
I am CNS, so I'm that detailed person. So it makes me okay with that. Like, then I know what I'm doing and I can handle those details, and they're not checking up on me.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective because that your personality is like, I got them, so I don't need to explain it to them because I'm just going to do it my way anyway. And the funny thing is, the D is my expectations of you is you're just going to do it anyway, like as well. So you still are achieving the same goal. But in presentations, it's really important for you to figure that out. I remember going on an appointment and I did what I call the dog and pony show about marketing, and all they cared about was price, right? Mm-hmm. And I botched the whole thing up, and I realized I got to move the parts around. If I have a high D personality, I'm going to say, hey, I have an agenda of talking a little bit about me, my company, my marketing, and then pricing strategies. Which one would you like me to start with?
I like that. Say that again.
There's 4 parts of the agenda, right? It's me, my company, my marketing, and the pricing strategy. Which one of these 4 of the agenda would you like me to start with? Right? The D likes control. And so I could now say, he's like, I just want to know about price. Right? Then I'll hit price first, and then I'll circle back with the other 3. And the other 3 have to go faster because I've already given him the meat and potatoes of what he wants. So he's not really going to listen to the other 3 as intently as the first one, right? And so we can go on this forever, but I just want you to realize that when you're giving presentations, you really got to work on looking at their social body language. It connects to that last slide. The discs, they all have I loved open house. The best way to start practicing this is when we can get really back into open houses. That was the most fun. Like, I would see a person come in the room, and in my head, I'd be like, I think they're a DI. And then I would try to play the game, think if that's really what it is. I'd go faster with them, or I'd be like, oh my God, I love your shirt. And they're like, oh, I got it at the, and then I'm like, all right, they're definitely an I, right? Because if they're not, they'll be like, thanks. Like, they're not interested in telling you about their shirt, right? SC. So open houses are a good way to interact. Also, fun parties. Literally, it's like this psychological game that I work through at dinner parties. I'm like, all right, I think he's an SC. Looking at body language, how he holds himself, how he holds his cup. There's some crazy stuff going on, and we all do it subconsciously. It's not good or bad. It's us being human. Okay? Make sure you're connecting to that when you're doing your presentations. It's gotta be connected to that. And the last kind of thing that I want to cover with you guys is, are we telling or are we asking more questions? So I've always kind of coached to this model of future pace. So future pace is a physical coaching model. Let me put it over here. And so it is a coaching model that I've been coached and trained on the last 6 years. Literally what you do is no one likes to be kind of caught off guard. They like to know what the plan is. I don't care what personality profile you are, right? So you can do future pacing via text, via email, or on the phone, right? So, hey, when we meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock for a listing appointment, I'm going to go over the following things, and I'm going to tell them what the following things are. So you're going to tell them the agenda, and then you're going to complete the agenda, and then you're going to recap the agenda at the end that we covered, right? So maybe on the phone, when I'm at the listing appointment, I'm going to set up, I'm going to say we're going to cover touring your property, marketing and strategies to get it sold, plus pricing. Is there anything else on the agenda we need to cover when I see you tomorrow? No. Great. I do those things tomorrow at 3, and then right at the end, before I'm about to get them to sign the agreement, and say, all right, based on kind of what we covered, which is X, Y, Z, these 4 things, is there anything left to discuss before we sign the paperwork and get to work to sell your home? Does that make sense? That's called future pacing. Is you're setting those bars. It allows the consumer to realize they're not pushed in a corner and there's no surprises. And you may be doing this subconsciously or consciously, but now, again, it's intentionally delivering this presentation, right? So I just want you to think about that when you're going into that. And then the second part of this, and I love y'all, but it's shut up. It doesn't say that, but it's basically
I need to hear that.
Does that, right? Silence can be the magic sauce in a presentation, a discussion, or a meeting. I am notorious for talking. I love talking. You guys know that, right? But that pause is silence, is golden, right? I will tell you the magic for me is having a drink. Every time I go on a listing appointment, I ask for a bottle of water or a glass of water. First of all, it's subconsciously giving subservient, like they're serving me, right? So who's leading? I am, because I sit down at the kitchen table, not the couch. And then I would say, hey, would you mind? I would love just a glass of water. Would you be okay with that? And then of course they're again of a cultural, like we call it a tribe mentality. They want us to help serve and communicate together. So they're going to say yes. But when I'm talking, I can just take a sip of water and pause. The difference between that pause will make a big impact, because a lot of times what we're throwing out there, they have to take in their frontal lobe, they have to go all the way through their brain, their cortex, and they have to make a decision. And we want them to be like, yes, 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 yes. Most humans take a minute to process. And if you're an SC, you know SCs, you listen, you hear, and then you digest, and then you reply, right? It's definitely more of a paced process. A DI goes too fast and they say yes to stuff they shouldn't say yes to because they're going too fast. So both the pauses allow us to really make a better decision on what the path forward is when you're doing a presentation, right? Also, increased talking could come off as ego, lack of confidence, or disconnect. It's all about you and it's not about them. Have you ever been in a presentation or a conversation with someone where you literally couldn't get in a word edgewise, like they literally wouldn't allow you to speak? Anybody? Yeah? How does that make you feel when you're in a discussion or you're in a presentation and you're like, hey, what does that do to that relationship?
You don't feel like you're on an even playing field.
Yeah, it doesn't strengthen it for sure, right? You feel like this weird teeter-totter, right? I want you to just be really aware. I'll use a different word.
Conscientious.
I know, I can't say that word today. Conscientious. Yeah, I almost can't say that, Don. You're always my wordsmith, which I love you for that. Is just kind of be aware of that. All right, well, the last thing, and then I'll let kind of Sam take it away, is using the person's name. Is anybody great at remembering names in the call? Nobody? Amy, what did you say? I can't hear you.
No, I think if they have a dog, unfortunately, I remember the dogs first. But
interesting.
But I'm pretty good at it.
So I have to write them down. I have to. And no offense, even when I know you personally, sometimes I still have to write your name down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh shit, who is this person, right?
I've done that. It's horrible.
It's horrible. Your best friend, you're like, who the hell are you again? What's her name? I don't know. Right? So there is high percentage of sales that says when you use the name at least 3 times in a conversation or a presentation, there's more of a connection to that person, right? So it's really important. I was doing a conversation with a stranger this afternoon. His name is Todd, and I wrote it down, and I used it 3 times, right? And he was like, you really, and he complimented me at the end. It was really because I think there's a connection to Todd, right? He thinks I'm invested in him. I don't even know the dude, right? But there's something connected to that. So make sure you have a written, like, I know it's crazy, but especially with Zoom, you can write everything down. They can't see you writing it because it's below the screen. Write their name down. And when they mention their spouse or partner, have them pause and say, I'm sorry, what is their name, right? Because a lot of times they're like, oh, my wife this, or my husband this. Make sure, and then if you can get their name in there, you get a twofer, is what I call it. You're going to use his name and his wife's name. You're going to be able to embed some names in your presentation. Storytelling. 63% of people remember the story versus the statistic. So those of us that are listing agents, you go ahead and tell a lovely story about a horrible home inspection. Go on, tell it. Be like, oh, well, I had this client a while back that they never went in their crawl space, and we had over $5,000 worth of fungi in the crawl space. I'm curious, have you guys went in your crawl space? Right?
Mm-hmm.
They remember the story, they don't remember the statistic. Eye contact, crazy important, especially in Zoom world, because we got to see people, right? And then of course, but it says it's make an emotional connection. But have you ever had somebody do eye contact, but they made it weird and you felt weird? Have you ever, honestly, there's some females, come on now, right? Where they stare at you too much. I've had that, and I'm like, what's happening right now? So be careful of that, right? It's 60-70% of that, but you have to, it's the ideal amount of eye contact. So make sure you're not like really using eye contact at the extreme level, because I've seen that backfire. And then visual presentation is, you need to have something. Listing presentation, flip book, Zoom, PowerPoint presentation, but people need what they call it's supposed to be slide deck, not side deck. Slide deck, right? So it's supposed to be this, and the good thing is it's like a teleprompter. It allows you to speak through the conversation, because when you get nervous, you skip stuff, right? When you're trying to read their body language, figure out their disc, do eye contact, dance on your head, you're going to forget something, right? So having a slide deck, whether it's a PowerPoint or a presentation book where you flip it, don't abandon that. I see some people, they have it and then they get in the appointment and they're like, they slide it back and they're like, whatever. Now you can flip through it faster, or you can skip a few pages, but make sure you have some type of slide deck or presentation. They like the visuals of it, okay? And then we're going to kind of now go into the look, right? In my opinion, we're struggling with this right now. We're in Zoom world. I'm not wearing a hoodie today, so that's good. We got to realize that we are interacting with sellers, and they're going to be paying us $10,000, $12,000 in commission, and we have to dress the part. So I wanted to have Sam, she's going to talk to us a little bit about kind of how we need to dress in this COVID craziness, but also just to be practical as real estate agents, because 1 minute we're in our pajamas, the next minute we got to go on a listing appointment in like 20 minutes and we're not even showered. Can I get an amen? Like, that happens, right?
Amen.
So we've got to figure out what that balance is between, we're not dressing for the prom, but we've also got to realize that we're paid in proportion to what we look like and our value, which is our presentation. They are connected. So flip-flops and, short sleeve polos are probably not going to be the way of the future for us, right? So Sam is going to take it from here. Sam, how are you?
Good.
Do you want to share your screen and kind of take over this last portion for us?
Yeah, definitely. I can do that.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Well, I will make you a co-host so you can do your thing.
Yeah. No, share it. Yes. And here. All right. Present on this device. Awesome. Now, unfortunately,
well, thank you, Sam. Awesome. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yep. I think we're good to go. Cool. Everybody good?
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And usually I go on 2 devices so that I can see people and the presentation at the same time. And that is not currently the case. So no worries. I'll just go ahead, since I can't see anyone's pretty faces. I'll just start talking, I guess. So it's not awkward. So thank you.
Good presentation skill. I need to put that in. Don't make it awkward. It's also presentation 101.
Awkward by just saying that it's not going to be awkward. So super fine. Trying to get into my computer, and I apparently can't spell my daughter's name, so that's fine too. I'm going to join on here so that I can see everyone's
so you can get our eye contact and you can see our body language. Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah. Okay, stop. Sorry. I thought that this was going to be better than it was, and instead it's just going to make it fine.
Believe me,
So
we're
first
good.
of all, what I'd love to do is just ask, because I thought that there was going to be maybe some men on this call, and there's not.
What's up
Is
with
that
that?
There is men in our members, but what does that say about them? No, I don't. The assumption is they're selling things.
Sure. They're busy.
As opposed to us.
Right? I don't know. I don't exactly, Don. I don't know. What do you say about that? Why are no men on this call? What do you think it is?
Because they don't think they need to improve. I don't know.
I like it. When they listen to this recording, I hope they hear all that. Yeah. One of these.
It's me. Sorry. Okay, I'm good. We're good. Everything's fine.
Yeah, you're good. Well, I definitely think that our industry is real estate agents. It definitely is a higher percentage of females. It's just statistics there. But I will definitely, I have no excuse for them not to be here. But I think sometimes women usually have themselves put together. Men, I was addressed men at Nordstrom for many years. They don't know what they're doing. Look at this.
No, that's fair. And
do you have primarily male clients, female clients, blended? What would you say is a realistic kind of blend of that?
Yeah, so I actually have primarily, for the most part, men. Probably 90% of my business are male clients. But with that said, I mean, I work with women as well. Can
I ask, do you think it's because women think they know what they're doing?
No, I think it's because us as a company, we just didn't have the opportunity to provide women with clothing that made sense for them and their careers, whereas we do now. So it's something that we started during COVID. So it's a little bit different. But since there are now, and I have no clue if you can see my face or not, so I'm sorry if I'm making it even more awkward. But so since there's more women on this call, and Drew, so he's surrounded by his ladies, I'm going to
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to kind of like broad, kind of the psychology around dressing well, kind of what that looks like and what's entailed with it. And so I have like a whole presentation I'll say, but are there any ladies on the call that maybe, because everything is more casual, right? So it's not like we're realtors kind of like going in suits and things like that. Have there ever been maybe any times that you were like, I want to look maybe a little bit like smarter casual, but I don't know how to do that? Or is that cool?
I see.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I can say these ladies on here all look like they're very put together. I am a hugely low maintenance kind of gal, and I used to buy suits to go to DC and work, and my suit was my uniform, so it was just suit after suit after suit. Real estate, when I embraced that, I want it to be casual with, like, I want it to be cute. I wanted to have like a little crisp white shirt, and like there's a couple agents out there that I want to be. But I don't know how to do that because all I know how to do is put on suits or go the opposite and be wicked casual. So that's a hard place for me to find.
Yeah, definitely, Donna.
Can I say that the situation I have, I'm old.
That is not true.
What I mean by that is I started my professional career at a time when women wore hose and suits, and a suit meant a skirt and a jacket, and then through the years we've had much more casual, and for a while we even had like your company would prescribe what casual day would be. Like you could have khaki pants and a polo shirt, that was casual, even for women. So it looked really goofy, because the girls are trying, it was just stupid. And then now we've gotten so casual that people have forgotten how to dress in a professional way, including me. I don't think anyone knows what is appropriate anymore, because I would feel like I was
this year.
Yeah, well, I would feel too dressed up if I went to a listing presentation wearing a suited skirt. Wearing a jacket with a blouse and a skirt and hose. Nobody wears hose anymore, which is confusing because your shoes don't fit right without hose. That's a whole nother thing.
We can go on forever. That's amazing.
So you know, that's why I think I'm here to get a lesson, because I don't want to be wearing clothes that look like I'm at a car wash.
She mentioned age. Like, I guess maybe I see it. I'm the only guy on the call, so I don't see it from an age thing. I think as long as it's tailored, it's well, like, you're not looking like a potato sack, like you wear clothes that are too big. They're tailored. They complement your skin and your tone and your hygiene. Like, it's not an age thing for me. It's that whole, maybe that's a male perspective, but when I'm hiring someone, I just want to make sure they're put together, you know, because again, when you're doing a presentation, I think that somehow is indicative of what they're going to do for me. So Sam, kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, perfect. No, perfect. And I just wanted to kind of because I did do it for both men and women. So I'm going to kind of maybe like slide through the male part, but I wanted to make sure that I was on the same page as you ladies, which I feel like I am. So, Drew, thank you so much. Amy, thank you so much for suggesting it, for offering it. I super appreciate it. And so what my hope is today is just to kind of talk about, you know, and be fruitful with your time. Hopefully I won't waste your time today, and kind of really help with kind of some basics on, you know, myself, my company, and then also what this like smart dressing now kind of practically looks like, and also how to kind of accomplish that. Because that's really what we're in now. It's not, you know, it's not even business casual that it used to be, or that maybe in the corporate world it was. It's this new kind of smart comfort casual that we've been exploring, that I've been exploring with a lot of my clients.
Smart comfort casual.
Wow.
Yeah, smart casual, comfort casual. Yeah, you can call it Zoom casual if you want to. Put some fun words there. And so just to kind of introduce myself, my name is Samantha Sullivan. I've been a professional clothier now for about 13 years here in the Richmond area. As a clothier, my main goal is just to provide my clients with a versatile wardrobe based around what it is that they're doing on the day-to-day. At the end of the day, I work with really busy people that either love to shop and don't have time to do it, or hate to shop and don't want to spend the time doing it. To tell you a little bit about my company, Tom James, we started back in 1966 out of Nashville, Tennessee. We have clothiers around the world. We make our own garments predominantly here in the States, or we have a facility in Canada as well as Tome, Chile. And we don't advertise, which is why really no one's ever kind of heard of us, but we've grown to be a $500 million company, mainly through word of mouth and referral. We've been blessed that even in the past year, we did have growth. We were able to make a profit. So we're probably one of the only clothing companies that can actually kind of say that, not go bankrupt, nothing happened with us, which is really exciting. And so, you know, kind of like what I mentioned, we'll focus mainly on that. First, the importance of dressing smart, dressing, you know, dressing, and then what that actually looks like, dressing for your day, and then kind of like a capsule wardrobe. So, you know, Princeton University, you know, has done research on, you know, how we dress and what that kind of looks like. So researchers at Princeton said that people wearing richer clothing were assumed to be more competent than those shown in other attire. Judgments were made instantaneously, and what they wore outranked their face. Nonverbal cues. So first impression is typically set in about 30 seconds or less. The evaluation is deeply etched in their cerebral cortex. And then the order that traditionally people would notice things is appearance. So your clothing, your grooming, your bearing, so your height, your body language, direct eye contact, and then finally it's speech. So pretty much first impressions, you know, you can only make a first impression one time. So, so there's that. And so this is kind of my male version. I'll kind of roll through it really quick, because a lot of you can probably attest to your husbands, significant others, partners, sons. And so, you know, before I do that, I'll just say that I understand a lot of probably what's going on in your business. Drew and I did kind of talk beforehand. So you're trying to probably do some networking, probably gathering referrals from your current clients and friends. Also, so getting new business. And then you're also having initial meetings, showing houses and properties, and then also you're probably closing deals. And you need to probably be prepared for all of those situations, I would imagine, in like a day's time. I would imagine like all of that goes on in one day. So you want to try to be kind
all
of
at the same time.
Yeah, all at the same time. Yeah, so that's fair. With Amy, she was working with me at 12 o'clock at night. I super appreciate you, Amy. Got you, girl. So one of the things is that we want to try to be prepared for all of it at once, but also kind of segmenting. So that's kind of what I'll kind of talk about it. So, you know, what the most important thing is to focus on basic pieces. We can kind of get overwhelmed with, you know, what do I add in my wardrobe right now that can make an impact, that can make me look great or smart, casual, and things like that. So the most important thing is just really focusing in on the basic pieces, nothing crazy. But after achieving those kind of few basic pieces, it's easier then to kind of go through, do this, and add some color, personality more in shoes and accessories. And that's really both true for both men and women. So to kind of speak to, again, men really quick, painting a picture, maybe you guys can see this for them. Wake up to another busy day. You have showings, meeting potential clients. At the end of the day, you're hopefully signing papers. And so you're trying to figure out what to wear. And this is probably for women as well. So, you know, right now you're probably seeing, you know, people buying houses no longer in the 150,000s, because I don't think that exists anymore. There's nothing on the market for that cheap.
Almost impossible to find right now.
Yeah, impossible to find, up to like $500, $1 million houses. So you want to remember that your clients, that even no matter what the price is of their house, like it's a big deal for them. So we're trying to be respectful for the clients that we're seeing, knowing that, you know, this is probably buying a house for the most part is a big deal for them. So, you know, for men, you'd want to throw on a pair of, right now, a dark jean, you know, maybe a gray fitted cotton pant, fitted, not trim, just it fits, you know, it's not baggy. It's not pooling at the bottom of their shoes. Ladies, you hate when you see that probably. It's a simple patterned shirt. It's a, you know, throwing on maybe a nice cotton pullover or a, you know, merino wool zip, and then having a nice casual boot or a casual kind of sneaker. That's a great look for a guy. You know, jeans, button-up shirt, pullover, boots, or a sneaker that's clean, that's nice. And then you throw on, meeting a new client, you throw on a casual blazer or a jacket. Again, something that's fitted, something that makes sense in either the charcoal or the blue or even the green or raspberry color. And you right now anchored your style with that jacket. You can move from each situation that you're going to be in super, super easy. You're going to go from casual jeans with boots and a shirt to maybe it's chilly, let's throw on a sweater, to let me dress up a little bit more with a jacket. So that's kind of the same that we can do for ladies. So we want to try to create kind of a capsule wardrobe, basic pieces. What does that look like? So it's the same kind of concept. You wake up in the morning. Now we have, you know, kids and dogs and everybody that we need to take care of. So it's, you know, we need to throw something on. So it's, you know, doing the same thing, going for that, you know, nice casual, dark wash jean that fits, that looks nice, that's a dark wash. So it's definitely a little dressier. It's putting on a nice, maybe a chino, cropped pant, or a nice, you know, sheath dress, anchoring it with a, you know, a blouse, or even not a tee, but maybe a nice V-neck shirt with a jacket, either a double-breasted or a long blazer. One of the wonderful things that have come out of 2020 is that the duster jackets are back, the longer jackets, the longer length one-button jackets, which are great because it's going to, if anybody has ladies, babies, cover their hips from all of the baby having. So it's very, very flattering on women, and it's easy and it's versatile, and wearing kind of like in the photo here, a jacket with sneakers is going to make that look more casual. So we can have definitely that personality in the accessories and the shoes, and really kind of throwing on a jacket at the end of the day or a cardigan is going to elevate our style 1,000%. So then you can feel comfortable in your jeans and a nice pair of sneakers at a property. And then you can also feel comfortable later on seeing a client that's signing or meeting someone for the first time, throwing on a simple black or navy kind of blazer, something that fits appropriately. So that's kind of what we can do. We can change also in the middle of the day for women. We can have sneakers in the car for when we need to walk a property that's maybe muddy and gross, and just, you know, have that clean pair of sneakers in the car that we can throw on really quick and, you know, keep the jacket in or put the jacket on, and then we can have those heels in the car, or a pump or a wedge that then would be able to change that look, still wearing the same thing. You're still not changing. You don't have to go home or anything like that. And keeping just everything really simple. One of the most important things I think for women is that we want to have our own style and our own personality when we're going and seeing people, which is great and wonderful. But when we have such a versatile day of seeing new business and old clients and properties and things like that, the most simplest way to get ready in the morning is keeping the basics real, keeping a clean jacket or cardigan, maybe not a skirt, you know, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but a nice, you know, a nice jean or a nice fitted trouser, something like that to have, and then having that personality, a little pop of something in the blouse or the necklace or the shoe.
I like the idea of keeping something in your car. Do you guys do that? Like, do you keep extra anything? I remember actually doing that, you know, on the men's side of things.
I'll plan ahead. Like, if I know I have a showing and it's going to be muddy, I'll bring extra shoes.
Yeah, I
have a pair of rain boots in my car all the time.
Yeah.
Just in case you ever get anywhere and it's gush.
Yeah, because I just, especially like if we're showing new construction, which we're probably showing more than ever before, you think the house is done and then you're like, okay, the sidewalk has not been poured, so guess where we're going? Through this mud hole. So I love that, and I just think that is, I think you almost have to think of it just like you said, like you have to think the whole day and then almost create those layers as you go. Because otherwise you're running around like a crazy person going, oh my gosh, and now I have to go to this appointment and I look like this. And now, you know, I had one question before you keep going, and I know you have more to go, but do you think when you meet someone for the first time versus maybe you meet them the second or third time, you could stagger kind of my opinion is, I don't know if you agree with this, is your first appointment, like we've never met this client before, you should be slightly dressed a little bit above. And then once you're comfortable with them, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times showing them houses, you can not get super casual, but maybe slide just down. Like in this example, maybe you start with a blazer, and then second or third appointment, you slide into this kind of version that maybe, or do you think, no, we should kind of maintain that consistency there? So Samantha, what do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. I was just kind of thinking it through. So I think that as you gain the confidence and the, you know, the friendship with your clients, you can definitely dress a little bit more casually. But I think one thing that, so it's different, right? Unfortunately, in the world we live in, you never know how somebody is going to perceive something, right? So we want to come into it, you know, dressed smart, but not dressed in a suit because we don't want to come off as pretentious. So you don't, you know, there's so many different things and there's so many different ways that you can be perceived. So you never want to go into something thinking like, oh, well, I'll wear, you know, a jacket or a blazer, and oh, well, I'm just going to run over to their house really quick. I just got done mowing the lawn, but you know, we're close like that. And then you show up and now this person thinks now that you don't respect them enough. Like, oh, what happened? Are they, you know, now are they being loose? Were they putting on a facade in the beginning by dressing up? And now they don't care as much about me anymore, you know, kind of thing. So with that said though, you know, you don't, in your days, some days might be different. Maybe you only have one person that you're seeing, or you're dragging yourself out on a Monday when you don't usually do showings on a Monday. You know, I think still wearing a nice jean with a nice clean sneaker and like a t-shirt with a jacket is still really casual. All you're really doing from going to the grocery store at that point is maybe, you know, you don't even really have to make your makeup anymore because there's a mask on all the time. So you bring us one another, do your eyes, and that's about it. So, you know, you throw on a jacket and you instantly have elevated that style 1,000%. You don't have to do anything different. You just threw on a jacket. It's the beauty of a jacket, a fitted, you know, good looking jacket is you can wear jeans and a t-shirt and you can do that. But, so I'll show this picture really quick. So one of the problems that I have with the whole, like, yes, definitely 100%, you can like get casual, is that like, and maybe there should be more men on this call because they're not, is a lot of the times guys specifically are like, oh, it's casual, whatever. I'll just wear like a nice pair of jeans with a polo untucked and I'll look good. But the polo a lot of times that they're wearing is oversized, is old, and they're probably not wearing these shoes. They're probably wearing the like dad New Balance shoes from Sam's Club. So I mean, so there's a difference in
Sperry's,
also
which I
like
hate those shoes. Sperry's are
so,
like the devil to me in men's world. Just saying.
It's just horrible. So I mean, there's definitely a difference in dressing down for your client the multiple time, but also still looking professional, still looking, you know, the part, you know, and it's for women as well. You know, we can definitely, there's different ways that we can, you know, dress up and, you know, still wear jeans, still wear a nice shirt, still be casual, but still look elevated with maybe a piece of jewelry, or maybe being more conscious of the shoes that we're wearing, or just throwing on, you know, instead of a windbreaker, throwing on a blazer or something like that. I hope that answered your question a little bit.
It did, actually. I now agree with you less than I agree with myself, because I'm like, I think you're right. You said almost set yourself up for a double standard, because you look nice, and then as the transaction goes, I'll end up in a trash bag at closing. Like, I mean, that's probably, you know, so I agree. I think you have that standard you want to maintain. I think that's a good point. But I also love the fact that you're still human. I think real estate agents, one of the things that I struggle with from a mindset is the perception that they think I make too much money.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, you're bringing these, I don't think these make you look like you're making $1 million in commissions. I think they just make you look clean, professional, polished. But I would say that's the mindset challenge that I face, and maybe I'm speaking for you guys, I don't know, but the Rolex, the this or that, I'm like, ugh, you know, at whatever price range I'm showing a house to, do I want them to see that, wow, he's doing good. Look at him with his Rolex and his this and that, and driving this car and doing that. So how do you find the balance? I know you obviously your clothing line has different economic and demographics, but how do you find that balance between that edge of showing, you know what I mean? It's almost, am I articulating that correctly? Like, where there's that balance between, you don't want to look, it's almost an economic conversation, I know, but it's connected to the way you look, I think, and the car you drive, technically. So
yeah, I was actually going to probably say the car you drive is probably going to be probably the main giveaway there for the most part, unfortunately. So it's different, right? You're going to meet two types of people most likely all the time. You're going to have your clients that are, you know, do very well for themselves, and they're very professional, and typically people that do well for themselves want to work with people that are doing well with them for themselves. They want to work with the same kind of people. So like, if they're wearing a Rolex, like, they probably want to work with someone that could afford a Rolex. Maybe you don't wear it, but like you can afford it. So you look nice. Right. And then if you're meeting with people then that are maybe in, you know, they just can afford a different priced house, but then also like you were saying, personality traits, reading people, reading the room. I still 100% feel like you want to meet someone for the first time a little bit more elevated in style, if that's with a blazer, jacket, or maybe just, you know, a nice pair of shoes and a cardigan or a dress. After you meet them, you'll probably get a real good feel if they want you to be down on their level, or if they want you to be kind of a little bit upper. Even if they want you down on their level, as a professional and someone who is seeking referrals, and also the main thing is that you guys are seeing so many different types of people in a day, you want to dress for everything.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Like, you're $200,000 buyer, and the next you're going on a $450,000 listing appointment. And like Dawn put in the chat, it's like she sells Dawn's in Fredericksburg, so she kind of deals with a lot of, you know, people in different well, similar to Richmond, but she says high-end people will end up rolling up in like a Subaru and they're not flashy, but we know they have wealth, and they have obviously the price points that they're looking at. It's $500,000, right? So I think that's the hardest part.
No, I mean, they show up in all their bling, and then I'm there to sell them, and I'm feeling like chopped liver, you know, like
Oh,
they
gotcha.
probably don't want me selling them this house because I'm just not fitting in that, hi, I'm from New York City, you know, mode.
Yeah. So I think that maybe that's connecting the clothing piece is important. Like maybe again that extra jacket, you know, throwing on a jacket or a blazer I don't give that perception. That's the interesting thing I think about our industry right now. It's
a lot of my clients specifically as well, they make a lot of money, but they don't want, so they make a lot of money and they show it in their watches and maybe jewelry, bracelets, and their, if they're still using a pen, they'll probably have a Mont Blanc on you. That's probably the only way. They don't spend a lot on their money, but they don't spend a lot on their clothing, but they do spend a lot on their houses and their cars and their accessories. So you can't always tell. I just saw a guy the other day. He's the attorney of Atlantic Union Bank.
Yeah, he's probably doing okay.
He doesn't look like the attorney of Atlantic Union Bank. Right. He wears like 80s jeans with flip-flops and an overly big polo. I mean, you know, he buys some nice suits, but if you were selling that man a house, unless he told you his price range, you would probably not think it. With that said, definitely, they want to work with somebody that's professional.
Of what I would look like, right? He's going to show up in flip-flops, but I better not show up in flip-flops.
You better not show up in flip-flops. No, you need to, he's going to want to work with somebody that can offer him the best. And in doing that, you don't want to match his look. You want to still be dressed. And I think that the main way that we can do that is by having clothes, one, that fit, and then two, that just has a simple jacket or a cardigan that fits as well.
Well, I know we don't have time, but I think the fit is a big thing. I wish more men were on this. Like, I think half of it's the fit, right? Because, you know, and we've talked about this, you're going to go through that. Like, you can buy a lot of these things from your regular, you know, Target or wherever, but then we buy the wrong size and it just doesn't look good. Like, it's not, and we're all self-conscious about, I mean, at least, all right, I will say my stomach, my this, for that. So we kind of buy it bigger thinking that it's going to add some extra padding or add some layering, but it actually makes it look worse, right? So
yeah, a lot of times, unfortunately.
It's just the fit. Like, I don't think we're trained, or we don't have the expertise like you to actually know what. And we also buy large, like if we're a large, we buy a large in everything. Well, some things you should buy a medium and some is an extra large because cuts are different. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for women, it's especially tricky because we don't alter. Women's clothes, you just don't alter. It's a women's clothes, except for a few brands, it's more made to be economical and you throw it away and you can have something for the next season. It's not, vendors don't make clothing anymore to be quality pieces that are going to be basics that are going to last a long time. Even if you did, you know, maybe you ladies shopped at the Limited when the Limited was still a thing, those jackets would break down. Like, you could get some good prices, but they just didn't fit the same after you dry cleaned it once or twice. It would bulge and get weird. And, you know, it is what it is, but it just wasn't made well. With that said, though, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get to the basics. You know, you can maybe, you know, if you wanted to do it, maybe spend some money on core pieces, just like one would spend money on, you know, a refrigerator and a new house, but they wouldn't spend money on the knobs. Or, you know, Amy was like, you want to have a nice toilet. So, I mean, like things like that. When the builder was like, you can pick any different faucet functions. And I was like, why? It doesn't make sense. I'm to spend $100. So anyway, with that, so,
I love this list.
So we talked a little bit about, like, how do I start a wardrobe? You know, I'm just going to give you a few quick tips, a few quick things. You know, basics for women, have 2 jackets, you know, maybe one more that you feel comfortable wearing every day, a black and a charcoal, and then maybe one that's a little fun, maybe a dark burgundy or a dark green or forest green. Keep it solid, keep it simple. You can wear it with anything. Having a simple black, a sheath dress, or maybe like a little black dress. These are going to be for those networking things you're going to go for. When you don't know what to wear, you know, when you're trying to figure out maybe who the people are going to be at it, having a simple sheath dress, but throwing on that jacket is just going to make it, you know, you can dress it up or dress it down kind of thing. having 3 core pants in your closet, a nice pair of dark jeans, a nice pair of gray slacks, and then either a black, like a black, kind of like a legging, but a work pant.
Anti-leggings. No, not.
Yeah, would be, well, not a legging, but like a black skinny pant would be, would be awesome. A gray slack would be great.
I know. I'm like, please no leggings. If I see another legging or yoga pant thing, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. And then having, some 5 simple tops, maybe if you like the look of a button down, I know for most women, it's going to gap at the chest. We do customs. It doesn't with ours, a floral print top or just a knit top. Having these basic things, if you have them in the closet, that's when you can wake up in the morning and you say, I have no clue what I'm going to do today. So you put on a dark wash jean, a floral top, you have some sneakers and heels in the car, just in case. I know that it's awkward to like change shoes. So have a nice sneaker and just wear the sneaker all day and own it. And then, and then have a jacket for later on. And that can kind of, elevate your style once you feel confident that, that works for you and you just wear it to everybody. And, you can eventually gain more accessories and necklaces and in shoes and things like that. As for fragrances, you want to be as minimal as humanly possible. You never know when somebody's going to have a negative memory based upon the perfume you're wearing. That's the worst. You can smell like somebody's
someone yesterday
wife.
say, oh, I like your cologne. I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, there was the TV show and they wanted to remove their like smell or something like that. I can't remember what it was, Sex and the City or something. I have no clue.
Yeah.
They're like, how do I remove this? So, you want to be really simple with that. You want to smell clean. That's about the end of it. And so, how does that practically look right now? I'll tell you that as a lady that I looked for a dress for a wedding coming up, things like that. It's hard right now to find anything online that are good, basic, professional pieces. Retail stores, if you've been in them, the fitting rooms are closed right now. There's no Nordstrom right now. So, I mean,
what in the heck? How does Nordstrom go away? I don't even understand.
I don't know. I mean, it's still online, but so anyway, you can try retail shops, your favorite retail shops, and going into them. A lot of people don't have the time to do that, but just going in, trying on, seeing what fits you. If you see that the sleeves are too long, sleeves on a jacket should end at the cut, at the wrist, at the break of your wrist. So when you're trying on a jacket and the sleeves too long, go to a tailor and get that altered. Again, that takes time. Online shopping is also great. There's a lot of, avenues with Trunk Club and Stitch Fix and all these other, different retailers. Draper James has them and things like that. Tahari has online shopping. A lot of times the only thing with that is that, it comes in and maybe it's not your fit, or you don't know what size you are, the style, and you don't know how to measure. It's kind of an annoyance. And then there's me. You can have a clothier that, comes in and we talk individually about, who you are, what do you like in your clothing, what are fit issues that you've had, how can we get you basic pieces that can kind of, rectify that. And a lot of my ladies that I work with, I do basics, and then they'll kind of, as we are continuing to build that part of our business, they'll still shop outside for, a cute top or something like that that's more their personality. But I think at the end of the day, having those basics is what's really, really important, because you want to dress, you want to remember that all of your clients purchasing houses, for the most part, it's going to be a big deal for them to purchase a house at any price point. And you want to try to, meet them at their level while still being able to dress casually for everybody else. And really the only way to do that, it's not to have the most expensive, watch or bag with you or things like that. It's really just being put together, having it fit, maybe having something to anchor your outfit down, like a cardigan or a shawl or a jacket. You can be as casual as my Donegal blazer that I have on today, or it can be just a simple black blazer or a long jacket or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you do want something quality. So there's that. That's pretty much the end that I have. It's 2:17. I know we wanted to end at 2. It's beautiful outside, so I hope you guys are able to enjoy that. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me or text me, or you can ask right now.
Any questions for Samantha? Samantha, do you go by Sam or Samantha? Which one do you go by?
I go by both.
Okay, perfect.
I have a husband or a client I saw earlier. He calls me Sam. His wife calls me Samantha. So it's.
I hear you. I get
whichever you like.
Mine's Andrew, and if somebody says Andrew, I'm like, who are you? Because I go by Drew. So I didn't want to. Well, I think that I really feel like that's a great end to the whole presentation, because you could say the right words, you could go into the whole psychology behind the conversation, and then show up in baggy jeans and flip-flops, and the whole thing's gone downhill quick, right? So I think our industry, we have a good opportunity to kind of have the whole package put together. We got to be realistic that they do judge a book by its cover in our industry. We're in the image business. We're in the perception business, whether we want to be or not. I say, we kind of have to act like we're the mayor of our town, local expert, and it starts with our skills and our look. So anything else, let us know, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you, Samantha, for your time.
Thank you.
When I see our guy members, I'm going to kick their ass, but that's all good. Because they need this probably sometimes more than others. But otherwise, go play in the sun, and then make sure you go sell some houses as well.
Great.
All right, bye, guys. Thank everybody for your time, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.